Any more subordinates for me to kill?
Hi.
This is Harrow.
Swazda weasels, how the hell are ya? Harrow, a warframe with one of the most rage-inducing grindfests known to the gaming community. The only warframe kinky enough to keep up with Korra. Undoubtedly Rihanna's mainframe, Harrow the creepy Hellraiser looking ass priest of the void? A warframe most of the community is quite happy with. However, before I break this dude down for you, a measure of warning. Harrow is most certainly not the warframe suitable for newer players. He is both engaging and demanding. Also the fact that you can build him in any number of ways, with each build having a mention-worthy impact on playstyle. It may be difficult for you to find your groove with Harrow after you have acquired him. And that's only after you get through countless runs of that stupid game mode defection that nobody likes. But I digress. Let's get to it. Mr. Spank Me Daddy has a passive ability that allows him to triple his shields. Also known as overshield. With that, Harrow has the largest capacity of possible overshields. Now that could be phenomenal if shields were actually worth thick. Whatever happened to shield gating, I wonder? Anyway, let's begin with his first ability. Harrow condemns the enemy to some fun time for adults by emitting a wave freaky energy that chains down anything in its path. This will immobilize anything for up to 6 seconds and can reach up to 20 meters in range. It will also work on smaller bosses, like those two bitches from the Void and the Stalker. The duration, however, will be reduced. Still, this is a viable, cheap and fast crowd control ability. In addition, every single enemy you catch with this ability will grant you 150 shields each. This will also feed into your overshield capacity if you surpass your default shields. Side note for you noobs, your shield is blue by default. Overshields are purple to indicate that you have more shields than you normally would. Just FYI. This Christian Grey ability will also force enemies to assume a favorable position to your headshotting skills, which will offer synergies with other abilities, but I will get to that later. Here is a pro tip on the house: you can cast this ability in the air and while aiming. So it will be a piece of cake for you to aim this thing in the perfect line you need to chain down as many enemies as possible. That's pretty much the gist of it. Next up, the Jesus experience. With penance, Harrow will go full Madia mode on himself and whoop his own ass.
Hair to the yeah.
By doing so, he will sacrifice all of his current shields and therefore gain faster fire rate and reload speed, faster melee speed, and most importantly life steal from damage dealt. So, while active, every bit of damage you deal will heal you and your inferior squad mates, provided they are within range. The more shield you have before casting this ability, the longer its resulting duration will be. Which brings me to the first synergy from Harrow's first. I would suggest you try to chain enemies down first to replenish as much shield as you can, but also to stop incoming damage and thus protect your freshly accumulated shields. Then cast penance to sacrifice the new shield and gain a higher duration on the ability. Take my word for it, this ability is great to have on at all times for the healing alone. You can stack this shit as many times as you want while it is active. However, you will never exceed a total duration of 2 minutes. You may also choose to cast your 1 and immediately after cast 2. Especially if enemies are far away from you. You see, while your kinky wave travels, you can cast penance and sacrifice your shield, while in the meantime the kink wave will begin to hit targets and replenish your shield. If you time this just right, you will essentially never expose your naked health. However, I cannot say that this is all that special since shields in Warframe are about as durable as a wet tissue paper on a rainy day. Which is also why I do not see the point in modding Harrow for higher shields. The only thing you are doing is sacrificing your potential tankiness so you can be lazy and cast your 2 slightly less frequently. But whatever. Do whatever the hell you want. Next ability. Charles Barkley's favorite word.
Terrible, 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 crazy knuckleheaded terrible.
Harrow whips his thing out and swings it freely for everyone to see. The longer you keep this active, the more energy points you will accumulate. Once you think you have enough, which is always around 10 for me, you may cast again to stop charging. Now, for each enemy you kill, you and your sissy teammates will gain energy respective to the number of points you previously accumulated. Should you kill with a headshot, then the energy gain is multiplied by 4. So I would suggest you try to always score them headshots even though you are more likely to get their PhD in astrophysics. Regardless, do your best. A side note I want to share here. While this ability is active, Harrow will display ring around him indicating the range of this ability, which happens to be the same as your other abilities, meaning you can use this to gauge how far your chains will travel from your first ability. Use brighter colors to increase visibility for you and your squad. That's pretty much all you need to know here. Quite simple. Let's move on.
Choke me, spank me, pull my hair. Choke me, spank me, pull my hair.
Harrow goes full kink mode and miraculously gains invulnerability for 6 seconds. During this time, nothing can damage you or your squad mates that find themselves within your affinity range. Which is insane because that is always 50 meters. At least. During these few seconds, the damage Harrow absorbs is used to extrapolate a crit chance buff to all of your weapons. It will cap out at 200% though, provided you take enough damage within the time window. So it would be beneficial to cast this ability when under heavy fire, to guarantee your buff cap out all the time. After the 6 seconds of invulnerability, your buffs will be applied to you and your teammates for the remaining time left on this ability. Headshot damage is multiplied by 4 on top of this buff. So truly insane damage here. That's literally all there is to it. But I can already hear a few crybabies wet themselves in the back, so allow me to add some more context as to how I use this ability and why I have it modified the way I do. You see, you cannot recast this ability while it is active. And since the untouchable phase will always end at half the total duration of this ability, you would essentially be pissing on your own leg when adding more duration because the only thing you are doing with that is increasing the time you will have to wait before you are allowed to go invulnerable again. Which is bad news if you like to use this ability as a panic button to save your ass from certain death. Which is exactly how I use it. Now some of you might say, but what about the damage buff, huh? And my answer would be, bite me. There is absolutely not a single instance in the entire game where these insane Harrow buffs are necessary to progress. On top of that, this flat damage increase looks impressive, but ultimately it will not scale into crazy high levels thanks to enemy damage resistances. You will always be 10 times more effective if you just strip the enemy armor instead of increasing your damage output. Well, at least that is my reasoning. You can do what you want. Now some final words on general playstyle, since Harrow is one of those goobers where you will need to bend over for whatever build you are using. I will tell you right now, this build has one weakness that is basically a dance with the devil. That is energy management. Not that it is difficult. No, not even a little. You will however be required to keep an eye on your energy and especially your third ability at all times. Because frankly, if you screw that up, you will find yourself in a world of hurt real fast. But that is exactly what makes this particular build exciting and fun to me. Not any shitty Rhino or Monkey Wukong main can play this build. It requires strategy and careful consideration. When I play this build, I try to maintain an energy return of about 8 or 10 points from the third ability at all times. The first ability I use mostly to reduce incoming damage and to set up my second ability. The second ability I try to keep on as long as I am in a fight. Mostly for the health stealing aspect. Which is also way of fun, and fast melee would not be a bad idea. And finally, Covenant, which I use mostly as a panic button to evade certain death. Now here is my build. Keep in mind, this build is tailored to fit my playstyle. You can do whatever the hell floats your silly boat. If you want to see this build in action, then I suggest you have a look at my solo survival video. Either way, do not forget to like and subscribe to this shitty channel. Now fuck off.